Captain Jake Morrison walked across the metal floor of his ship's bridge. The lights above him were bright white, making everything look sharp and clean. He had been the captain of the UES Valiant for 3 years now, and he knew every sound. The ship made, but today, something was different. Today they had received a message that changed everything. "Sir, the alien transmission is ready for playback," said Lieutenant Amy Rodriguez from her station. She was young, maybe 25, with dark hair pulled back tight. Her fingers moved quickly over the control panel, bringing up the signal. They had caught 3 days ago. Morrison stopped walking and looked at the big screen in front of him. Numbers and waves of light danced across it, showing the alien message in ways human eyes could understand. This was the first time anyone from Earth had ever heard from another species. The first time in all of human history. "Play it again," Morrison said. His voice was calm, but inside his chest, his heart was beating fast. Every time he heard this message, it made him feel cold. The speakers around the bridge came to life. First there was static, then a voice. It was not human. The sounds were different, higher in some places, lower in others. But their computers had worked for 3 days to turn those sounds into English words. "This is Elder Council Representative Zephyr of the Kytherian Republic," the voice said. Even through the translation, Morrison could hear fear, a real fear, our homeworld Kyther. "Prime is under attack by the Ravager Collective. They have surrounded our planet for 6 of our days. Our spaceships are all destroyed. Millions of our people are trapped on the surface with no way to escape." Morrison closed his eyes. He had heard this part before, but it never got easier. The alien voice continued. "If any peaceful species gets this message, please help us. The Ravagers kill everyone they capture. They show no mercy to the worlds they conquer. We have maybe 10 more days before they start bombing our cities from space. Our location is..." The voice gave a series of numbers that meant nothing to most people, but to Morrison they were coordinates. Place in space 47 light-years from Earth. When the message ended, the bridge was quiet. Morrison opened his eyes and looked around at his crew. These were good people, smart people. People who had joined the space fleet because they wanted to explore the stars and maybe find other life out there. None of them had expected to find other life screaming for help. "Sir," said Commander Lisa Hayes, walking up to him with a tablet computer in her hands. She was older than Rodriguez, maybe 35, with blonde hair and serious blue eyes. She had been Morrison's second in command for 2 years, and he trusted her completely. "Our long-range sensors are picking up massive energy readings from the Kyther system. Whatever's happening there, it's big." Morrison took the tablet and looked at the numbers. Energy readings that high meant weapons fire. Lots of weapons fire. It meant ships exploding and people dying while the rest of the galaxy did nothing. "Have we picked up any other responses to this message?" Morrison asked. Hayes shook her head. "Nothing, sir. The message was sent on an open frequency. Which means every spacefaring species with the right equipment would have received it, but in 3 days, no one has answered." Morrison handed the tablet back to her. The alien message had been broadcast to everyone, like shouting for help in a crowded room. No one was coming. No one cared enough to risk their own ships and people to save a species they had never met. Lieutenant Baker Morrison called to his communications officer. Baker was a thin man with red hair and freckles, maybe 30 years old. He had been with the fleet for 8 years and knew how to reach anyone, anywhere. "Yes, sir," Baker said, turning in his chair. "Get me a direct line to Fleet Command on Earth. Priority 1. Baker's fingers flew over his controls. "Connection established, sir. Admiral Patricia Stone is on the line." Morrison walked to his captain's chair and sat down. Big screen changed to show a woman in her 50s with gray hair and stern features. Behind her, Morrison could see the flags of Earth and the United Earth Fleet. "Admiral Stone," Morrison said. "I assume you've heard the alien transmission." "I have, Captain," Stone replied. Her voice was serious. "The entire command staff has been in meetings for the past 2 days discussing it. What's your assessment of the situation?" Morrison looked at the screen showing the alien coordinates. "Ma'am, we have a species under attack by what appears to be a hostile force. They're asking for help and no one is responding. If we don't act, they're all going to die." "Captain, We don't know anything about these aliens. We don't know if they're telling the truth. We don't know if this is some kind of trap. And we certainly don't know if we can trust them. With respect, Admiral, it doesn't matter, Morrison said. Someone is asking for help. Someone is about to be wiped out completely. If we have the power to help and we choose not to, what does that say about us? There was a long pause. Morrison could see Stone thinking, weighing the risks and benefits. Finally, she spoke. Captain, I'm authorizing the deployment of Task Force 7. You will have command of 12 heavy cruisers, 36 destroyers, and the dreadnought U.S. Retribution. Your mission is to investigate the situation in the Kither system and render assistance if possible. Morrison felt a surge of pride and fear at the same time. This would be the largest military force humanity had ever sent beyond their own solar system. If something went wrong, they might lose hundreds of ships and thousands of people. Understood, Admiral? When do we deploy?
Immediately, Captain.
The fleet is already being assembled at Luna Station. You should arrive there within 6 hours. The screen went dark. Morrison sat in his chair for a moment, thinking about what they were about to do. They were going to another star system to fight aliens they had never seen, to save people they had never met. It was crazy. It was dangerous. It was exactly what humans did when someone needed help. All hands, this is the captain, Morrison said into the ship's communication system. We have received orders to join a rescue mission to an alien world. This will be humanity's first contact with other intelligent species, and they need our help. I know this is not what any of us expected when we joined the fleet, but I also know that each of you will do your duty. Set course for Luna Station. Maximum speed. As the Valiant turned toward Earth's moon, Morrison looked one more time at the coordinates of the Kither system. Somewhere out there, millions of beings were waiting to die. But not if humanity had anything to say about it. The human fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Kither system. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the UES Retribution, the largest ship humanity had ever built. Around him, 47 other human warships hung in space, like deadly metal sharks ready to hunt. Sweet Jesus, whispered Lieutenant Commander Ryan Phillips as he stared at his tactical screen. His face had gone pale. Captain, you need to see this. Morrison walked over to the main display. The Kither system spread out before them in 3 dimensions, showing planets, moons, and debris fields. But what caught his attention were the red dots surrounding the 3rd planet. Hundreds of them. How many enemy ships? Morrison asked. 312 confirmed contacts, sir, said Lieutenant Nicole Davis from the weapons station. She was a small woman with dark skin and quick hands, one of the best gunners in the fleet. They were arranged in a perfect blockade formation around the planet. Morrison studied the enemy ships through the long-range cameras. They looked like giant insects made of black metal. Each one was at least as big as a human destroyer, with sharp edges and weapon ports covering their hulls like angry eyes. They moved in perfect formation, completely surrounding the blue-green world below. Sir, we're getting debris readings throughout the system, reported Science Officer Ben Clark. He was young, maybe 23, with thick glasses and nervous energy. It looks like the remains of the local defense fleet. They got hit hard. Morrison nodded grimly. The Kitherians had tried to fight back, but their ships were now nothing but floating metal and frozen bodies. The Ravagers had crushed them completely. Captain, said Communications Officer Amy Rodriguez, I'm picking up a transmission from the planet's surface. It's weak, but I can clean it up. Put it through, Morrison ordered. The bridge speakers crackled with static. Then a new alien voice came through. This one sounded different from the first message they had received. Where the first voice had been formal and desperate, this one was raw with fear and hope. Unknown ships. This is Defense Coordinator Thrix speaking from the capital city of Kither Prime. Are you responding to our distress call? Please identify yourselves. Morrison activated the general broadcast system. Defense Coordinator Thrix, this is Captain Jake Morrison of the United Earth Fleet. We received your message and have come to help you. There was a long pause. Then Thrix spoke again, and Morrison could hear the alien's voice shaking. Earth Fleet. We have no record of your species in our databases. How far did you travel to reach us? 47 light years, Morrison replied. Another pause. Longer this time. You came all that way to help people you have never met. You should not have come, Captain Morrison. The Ravagers have destroyed every fleet that tried to stop them. They will kill you all. We'll see about that, Morrison said. He switched to the fleet command frequency. All ships, this is actual. We have 300+ enemy contacts maintaining siege positions around the planet. Battle stations, all. Hands, prepare for combat operations. Throughout the human fleet, alarms began to sound. Sailors ran to their posts, weapon systems came online, and shields powered up. The 48 ships of Task Force 7 prepared for the largest space battle in human history. Sir, said Lieutenant Davis, the enemy fleet is starting to move. Looks like they've noticed us. Morrison watched the tactical display as 30 Ravager ships broke away from the main group. They formed a wedge shape and began moving toward the human fleet. Their approach was smooth and confident, like wolves moving toward sheep. Contact in 12 minutes at current speed, Davis reported. They're not even trying to hide their approach. They think we're just another group of aliens stumbling into their trap. Commander Lisa Hayes, Morrison's second in command, walked up beside him. Sir, we're outnumbered 6-1. Are you sure about this? Morrison looked at her with calm eyes. Commander, these aliens have been sitting here for days, getting ready to bomb innocent people from orbit. They've destroyed every ship that tried to stop them. They think they're the strongest predators in the galaxy. He smiled, but it was not a nice smile. They're about to learn they're wrong. The 30 Ravager ships came closer, their wedge formation perfect for maximizing their firepower. They had used these same tactics against dozens of other species. It had always worked before. Range to target, 60,000 kilometers, Davis announced. 55,000. 50,000. Morrison waited. The Ravagers were moving in. Straight line, making no attempt to dodge or weave. They thought the battle was already won. 40,000 kilometers, Davis said. 35,000. They're not changing course, sir. They don't think we're dangerous, Morrison observed. Perfect. All ships target the lead enemy vessels. Wait for my command. The Ravager ships continued their approach, confident in their superior numbers and battle experience. Their crews had conquered star systems, destroyed entire civilizations, and terrorized the galaxy for centuries. To them, the human fleet was just another group of naive aliens about to be crushed. 30,000 kilometers, Davis reported. 28,000. 25,000. Morrison raised his hand. Every weapon on every human ship was now aimed at the approaching Ravagers. Railguns, missile tubes, and energy weapons all waited for the order to fire. Sir, said Lieutenant Rodriguez, we're getting multiple transmissions from the planet. The Catherians are begging us to run while we still can. Morrison lowered his hand. All ships fire. Space around the human fleet exploded with light. Railgun rounds moving at incredible speed crossed the distance to the Ravager ships in seconds. Missiles followed, their nuclear warheads ready to turn metal into plasma. Energy beams hot enough to melt steel lanced out across the void. The lead. Ravager's ship simply disappeared. One moment it was there, the next it was an expanding cloud of glowing gas and metal pieces. The ship next to it exploded a second later, its hull torn apart by multiple railgun hits. A third ship tried to turn away but was caught by a nuclear missile that turned it into a brief new star. Direct hits on all primary targets, Davis reported, her voice filled with amazement. 3 confirmed kills. The enemy formation is breaking up. On the planet below, Defense Coordinator Thrix stared at his tactical display in complete shock. 3 Ravager ships destroyed in less than 10 seconds.
Oh.
In all his years of military service, he had never seen anything like it. Impossible, he whispered. The Ravagers are supposed to be unstoppable. The surviving 27 Ravager ships scattered in panic. Their perfect formation falling apart as they tried to escape the deadly accurate human fire. But Morrison's fleet had positioned themselves perfectly to cut off any retreat.
Pursuit.
Formation, Morrison ordered calmly. Don't let any of them reach the main fleet. I want them all destroyed before they can report our capabilities. The hunt began. Human ships, faster and more agile than their enemies, chased down the fleeing Ravagers one by one. Each enemy ship that tried to escape was caught and destroyed with ruthless efficiency. Within 20 minutes, all 30 Ravager ships were nothing but expanding debris clouds. Not a single human vessel had been damaged, said Lieutenant Clark, his voice filled with awe. We just wiped out an entire Ravager squadron without taking a single hit. Morrison nodded, but his expression remained serious. That was just the advance guard. The real battle is about to begin. On his tactical display, the main Ravager fleet was moving. Hundreds of ships were breaking orbit around Kither Prime, forming up into massive battle groups. They were done playing games. Now they were coming with everything they had. All ships prepare for Phase 2, Morrison announced. Time to show them what happens when you threaten innocent people. The main Ravager fleet moved through space like a dark cloud of death. 282 ships arranged themselves into 3 massive battle groups, each one larger than the entire human fleet. They had been caught off guard by the destruction of their advanced squadron, but now they were coming with their full strength. Admiral Vexstar stood on the command deck of his flagship, the Devourer of Worlds. He was 7 feet tall, with 4 arms and skin like black leather. The species had conquered 43 star systems, and he personally had overseen the destruction of 12 different civilizations. No enemy had ever destroyed 30 of his ships without taking damage. Analysis complete, Admiral, said his tactical officer, a smaller alien with too many eyes. The enemy weapons appear to use magnetic acceleration. Their energy signatures suggest advanced power systems. Vexstar clicked his mandibles in anger. How many ships do they have? 48 total, Admiral. All appear to be military vessels. 48 against our 282, Vexstar said. They may have better weapons, but numbers will decide this battle. Order all groups to advance. We will crush them through sheer force. The Ravager fleet began to move. Their formation was designed to surround the human ships and hit them from all sides at once. It was a strategy that had worked against every other species they had faced. Captain Morrison watched the enemy approach on his tactical display. They're trying to surround us, he said to Commander Hayes. Classic pincer movement. They want to hit us from 3 directions. Sir, we're outnumbered almost 6 to 1, said Lieutenant Davis from the weapons station. Even with our superior firepower, those are tough odds, Morrison smiled. Lieutenant, has anyone ever told you about the Battle of Thermopylae? Davis looked confused. No, sir. Ancient Greek battle. 300 Spartans held off an army of thousands by choosing the right battlefield. Sometimes numbers don't matter if you're smart about how you fight. He turned to the fleet communications system. All ships, this is actual. Execute Formation Delta. We're going to hit them where they don't expect it. The human fleet suddenly changed direction. Instead of trying to avoid the enemy or spread out to meet them, it compressed into a tight spearhead formation and accelerated directly toward the center Ravager battle group. What are they doing? Vexstar snarled as he watched the enemy formation change. They're flying straight into our strongest position. This is suicide. But Morrison knew something the Ravager Admiral did not. When you're outnumbered, you don't try to fight everyone at once. You pick one part of the enemy force, destroy it quickly, then move to the next target, before they can coordinate their response. The human spearhead drove into the center Ravager group like a knife through flesh. Concentrated railgun fire and missile salvos tore through the enemy formation. The Ravagers had spread their ships out to cover more space, which meant each human ship could focus its weapons on multiple targets. Multiple hits on enemy vessels, reported Lieutenant Davis. Confirmed kills on 7 Ravager ships. 8 ships. 10 ships. The Ravagers in the center group tried to return fire, but the humans were moving too fast and changing direction too. Often, their own weapons, designed for long-range bombardment of planets, could not track the agile human warships. Sir, we're getting damage reports from the Ravager center group, said Communications Officer Rodriguez. They're calling for help from the other 2 groups. Too late, Morrison said. By the time those other groups can reposition, we'll be done here. The human fleet carved through the center Ravager formation like a buzzsaw. Ship after ship exploded under the concentrated fire. The Ravagers had never faced an enemy that could move so fast or coordinate so well. On Kither Prime, Defense Coordinator Thrix watched the battle through his planet's remaining sensors. "Incredible," he whispered. "They're destroying an entire Ravager battle group. How is this possible?" His aide, a younger Kitherian with blue-green skin, shook his head in amazement. "The humans fight like they were born for war. Look at their coordination. Every ship knows exactly where the others are. They move like they share the same mind." Thrix nodded. "We spent 50 years building our defense fleet. The Ravagers destroyed it in 6 hours. These humans have been fighting for less than an hour, and they've already destroyed more Ravager ships than we ever did." Back in space, the center Ravager battle group was falling apart. Of the 94 ships that had started the engagement, only 32 were still fighting. The rest were either destroyed or crippled and drifting. "Center group is collapsing," reported Lieutenant Davis. "The survivors are trying to retreat." "Don't let them," Morrison ordered. "All ships, finish them off." Then we pivot to the next target. The human fleet moved through the remaining center group ships like deadly ghosts. Each Ravager vessel was targeted by multiple human ships at once. Overwhelmed by firepower they could not match. Admiral Vextar watched his center group die, felt something he had not experienced in decades. Fear. Real fear. These humans were not just technologically superior or tactically brilliant. They fought with a level of coordination and ruthlessness that his species had never encountered. "Signal the remaining groups," he ordered. "Full assault. Ships, maximum speed. We have to overwhelm them before they can destroy us piecemeal." The 2 remaining Ravager battle groups abandoned their careful formations and charged directly at the human fleet. Nearly 200 ships moving at full speed, weapons blazing, determined to crush the humans through sheer numbers. Morrison watched them come. "Right on schedule," he said. "All ships, execute formation Echo. Time for round 2. The human fleet regrouped and turned to face the incoming mass of Ravager ships. They had just destroyed 94 enemy vessels in 35 minutes. They had to face twice that many in a head-to-head battle. "Sir," said Commander Hayes, "they're not trying to be clever anymore. This is going to be a straight slugging match." "Good," Morrison replied. "That's exactly what we want. When you're better trained and better equipped, you want the enemy to fight simple. Complex tactics require coordination. These aliens just lost their coordination when we killed their center group." The 2 waves of ships rushed toward each other. Across the void, the Ravagers came in a disorganized mob, their formation ragged and their fire poorly coordinated. The humans maintained their tight formation, every ship in perfect position to support the others. "Range to enemy 200,000 kilometers," announced Lieutenant Davis. 150,000? 100,000? All ships prepare." "To engage," Morrison said. "Remember, we're not just fighting for ourselves. We're fighting for every innocent person on that planet below. We're fighting to show the galaxy that bullies don't always win." The space between the 2 fleets began to fill with weapons fire. Missiles and energy beams crossed the darkness like deadly fireworks. But where the Ravager fire was scattered and unfocused, the human fire was precise and devastating. Direct hits on multiple enemy targets, Davis reported. "Confirmed kills coming in now. 12 enemy ships destroyed. 15. 20. The Ravagers had superior numbers, but the humans had superior everything else. Better weapons, better tactics, better training, and better coordination. Most importantly, they were fighting to protect innocent people, while the Ravagers were fighting to preserve their reputation as unstoppable conquerors." "Sir, the enemy formation is starting to break apart," said Lieutenant Phillips. "They're taking casualties faster than they can replace them." Morrison nodded. "Keep the pressure on. Don't give them time to regroup or think. Hit them hard and keep hitting them." The battle raged for another 20 minutes. The human fleet moved through. The Ravager forces like a scythe through wheat, cutting down enemy ships with mechanical precision. The aliens had never faced an enemy that could fight at this level. When the weapons finally fell silent, 187 more Ravager ships had been destroyed. The human fleet had taken some damage this time, but no ships had been Lost, sir, said Lieutenant Rodriguez. We're getting a transmission from the remaining Ravager ships. They're requesting permission to surrender. Morrison looked at the tactical display. Only 7 Ravager ships remained operational out of the original 312. They were drifting in space, their weapons powered down, waiting. For his decision? Denied, Morrison said coldly. Continue firing until they're all destroyed. Sir, Commander Hayes looked surprised. The rules of war... Don't apply to genocidal maniacs, Morrison finished. These creatures were about to bomb millions of innocent civilians from orbit. They've destroyed entire civilizations. Today, they learn what it feels like to be helpless. The last 7 Ravager ships died under human guns. The space around Kither Prime was now filled with debris and floating wreckage, but the planet itself was free. Morrison opened a channel to the surface. Defense Coordinator Thrix, this is Captain Morrison. The Ravager fleet has been completely destroyed. Your planet is safe. The silence in space around Kither Prime felt strange after hours of weapons, fire, and explosions. Captain Morrison stood on the bridge of the Retribution, watching the debris fields drift past his ship. 312 Ravager vessels had been reduced to floating metal and frozen bodies. Not one had escaped. Sir, we're receiving multiple transmissions from across the system, reported Lieutenant Rodriguez. Long-range sensors are picking up other Ravager forces moving toward us from the outer planets. Morrison turned to look at the tactical display. New red dots were appearing at the edge of the system, or enemy ships coming to investigate what had happened to their main fleet. How many? He asked. Lieutenant Davis checked her readings. At least 60 ships, sir. They were stationed at the mining colonies on the 4th and 5th planets. They're moving fast. Commander Hayes walked up beside Morrison. Sir, our ships took some damage in that last engagement. We've got hull breaches on 3 destroyers, and the cruiser Defiant has lost half her missile launchers. We could use some time to make repairs. Morrison shook his head. We don't have time. If we let any Ravager ships escape this system, they'll warn their home fleet about our capabilities. The next time we meet them, they'll be ready for us. He activated the fleet communications. All ships, this is actual. We have incoming hostiles from the outer system. Form up for pursuit operations. No enemy ship leaves the system alive. On the planet's surface, Defense Coordinator Thrix watched the new battle preparations through his sensors. The human fleet was damaged and outnumbered, but they showed no signs of retreating. Instead, they were moving to intercept the new Ravager force. They could leave now, Thrix said to his aide. They've saved our planet. Could go home as heroes. Instead, they're staying to hunt down every last enemy ship. His aide nodded. These humans fight differently than any species we've encountered. Most civilizations would be satisfied with driving off the attackers. The humans want to destroy them completely. The 60 Ravager ships approaching from the outer system were different from the main fleet. These were smaller, faster vessels designed for raiding and mining operations. Their commander was Captain Zackthel, a veteran raider who had spent 20 years terrorizing merchant ships and undefended colonies. What happened to Admiral Vextar's fleet? Zackthal demanded, as he studied the debris fields ahead of him. Unknown, Captain, replied his sensor operator. We're detecting massive amounts of wreckage, but no operational Ravager vessels. The enemy fleet appears to be intact. Zackthal clicked his mandibles in disbelief. Impossible. Vextar had over 300 ships. How could they all be destroyed? Sir, we're receiving a transmission from the enemy fleet, his communications officer announced. Put it through, Zackthal, ordered Captain Morrison's voice filled the Ravager bridge. This is Captain Jake Morrison of the United Earth Fleet. You are ordered to surrender immediately, or you will be destroyed. Zackthal laughed, a harsh sound that echoed through his ship. Human, you may have defeated Vextar through some trick, but we are different. We are fast. We're experienced. We will tear your fleet apart. Your choice. Morrison replied. The transmission ended. The 60 Ravager raiders spread out into a wide formation, using their speed advantage to try to surround the human fleet. It was a good tactic against slower, heavier ships. The raiders would dart in, fire their weapons, then retreat before the enemy could respond. They're fast, observed Lieutenant Davis as she tracked the approaching ships. Faster than our destroyers. They're trying to use hit-and-run tactics. Morrison watched the enemy formation. Speed won't help them. All ships, execute formation Gamma. Overlapping fields of fire. Let them come to us. The human fleet arranged itself into a defensive sphere, with each ship positioned to cover the others. When the Ravager raiders came within range, they would face the concentrated firepower of the entire human force. The first wave of raiders swept in at maximum speed, their weapons blazing. Energy beams and plasma bolts struck the human ships, causing damage but not penetrating their shields. The raiders expected to retreat quickly after their attack run. They never got the chance. The human fleet opened fire with everything they had. Railgun rounds and missiles filled the space around the raiders. The fast enemy ships found themselves flying through a wall of deadly projectiles moving at incredible speeds. Multiple hits, reported Lieutenant Davis. Confirmed kills on 8 raiders, 10 raiders, 12 raiders. Surviving raiders tried to retreat, but they had flown too close to the human formation. More weapons fire reached out to catch them as they fled. Only 15 of the first wave made it back to the main Ravager group. Captain Zachthal stared at his tactical display in shock. He had just lost 30 ships in less than 5 minutes. Impossible, he whispered. How did they hit us? We were moving at maximum speed. His weapons officer, a nervous alien with shaking hands, looked up from his console. Sir, their weapons are faster than our ships, much faster. Our speed advantage means nothing if their projectiles can catch us anyway. Zachthal realized he had made a terrible mistake. The human weapons were not like the energy beams and plasma cannons used by most species. They fired solid projectiles that moved at incredible speeds. No ship, no matter how fast, could outrun them. All ships retreat to the jump point, he ordered. We need to escape the system and warn the collective. But Morrison had anticipated this move. Half the human fleet was already moving to block the escape routes. The Ravager raiders found their path to safety cut off by human destroyers and cruisers. Sir, the enemy is trying to escape, reported Lieutenant Phillips. They're making a run for the hyperspace jump point. Intercept them, Morrison ordered. All ships, maximum speed. Don't let any of them get away. What followed was a running battle across the entire Kither system. The Ravager raiders were fast, but the human ships were persistent. Every time the raiders tried to change course or break away, they found human vessels waiting for them. The chase lasted for 2 hours. One by one, the remaining Ravager ships were caught and destroyed. Their speed meant nothing against enemies, who could predict their moves and cut off their escape routes. Captain. Zachthal made his final transmission from the bridge of his dying ship. To any Ravager forces receiving this message, avoid the Sol system at all costs. The humans are not like other species. They fight without mercy. They show no quarter. They are demons who have learned to sail between the stars. His ship exploded. In a flash of light, taking with it the last Ravager presence in the Kither system, Morrison stood on his bridge, looking out at the now peaceful space around Kither Prime. All ships, report status, he ordered. The responses came in quickly. 7 human ships had taken moderate damage, but all were still operational. No lives had been lost. In contrast, every single Ravager vessel in the system had been destroyed. Sir, said Lieutenant Rodriguez, we're receiving a transmission from Kither Prime. Defense Coordinator Thrix wants to speak with you. Put him through, Morrison said. The alien's voice came over the speakers, filled with awe and gratitude. Captain Morrison, on behalf of all Kitherians, we thank you. You have done what no other species has ever accomplished. You have completely destroyed a Ravager fleet. Morrison activated his reply. Coordinator Thrix, the immediate threat is over. But this was just one Ravager fleet. There will be others. What will you do now? Thrix asked. Morrison looked around his bridge at his crew. These men and women had just fought the most important battle in human history. They had announced humanity's presence to the galaxy not through exploration or diplomacy, but by completely crushing one of the most feared military forces in known space. Now, Morrison said, we go home and prepare for the next time someone calls for help. The galaxy has just learned that Earth will not tolerate bullies. We will not stand by while innocent people are slaughtered. Any species that preys on the weak will have to deal with us." He paused, then added words that would be remembered throughout the galaxy for generations to come. "Tell everyone what happened here today. Tell them that humanity has joined the community of spacefaring peoples. And tell them that we will answer any call for help against those who would destroy the innocent." The human fleet began to form up for the journey home, leaving behind a peaceful world and the wreckage of an empire's arrogance. The last Ravager ship exploded in a brilliant flash of light that could be seen from the surface of Kither Prime. Captain Morrison watched the fireball fade away. Knowing that every enemy vessel in the system had been destroyed, 372 ships reduced to floating debris and frozen corpses. Not one had escaped to carry word of their defeat back to the Ravager Collective. "Sir, all enemy contacts have been eliminated," reported Lieutenant Davis from her weapons station. Her voice was steady, but Morrison could see the amazement in her eyes. They had just accomplished something that no other species in the galaxy had ever done. They had completely annihilated a Ravager fleet. "Excellent work," Lieutenant Morrison said. Turned to his communications officer. "Rodriguez, open a channel to all ships in the fleet." "Channel open, sir!" Morrison activated the fleet-wide communications system. "All ships, this is Captain Morrison. Today, you have made history. Today you have shown the galaxy what humanity stands for. We came here to save innocent people, and we have succeeded. Every man and woman in this fleet should be proud of what we have accomplished." Throughout the 48 ships of the human fleet, sailors and officers cheered. They had traveled 47 light years from home to fight aliens they had never seen, and they had won a complete victory. Not one human life had been lost in the battle on Kither Prime. Defense Coordinator Thrix stood in his command center, staring at the tactical display that showed the debris fields where the Ravager fleet had been. His aide approached him with a datapad containing casualty reports from the planet's surface. "Coordinator," the aide said, "final damage assessment from the Ravager bombardment. 17 cities were hit before the human fleet arrived. Estimated civilian casualties are 400,000 dead, 800,000 wounded." Thrix closed his eyes and felt the weight of those numbers. 400,000 of his people dead because the galaxy had chosen to ignore their call for help. Only one species had answered. Only the humans had cared enough to risk their own lives for people they had never met. "Sir," the aide continued, "we're receiving requests from every major city on the planet. They want to know how they can thank the humans. Some are proposing to build monuments. Others want to name their children after the human ship captains." Thrix nodded. "Tell them we will find appropriate ways to honor our rescuers. But first, we need to make sure the galaxy knows what happened here." He walked to his communications console and opened a channel to the human fleet. "Captain Morrison, this is Defense Coordinator Thrix. May I speak with you privately?" "Of course, Coordinator," Morrison replied. "Captain, my people owe you a debt that can never be repaid. You saved our entire civilization. But I need to ask you something important. What do you want us to tell the galaxy about this battle?" Morrison thought for a moment before answering. "Tell them the truth, Coordinator. Tell them that when innocent people called for help, only one species answered. Tell them that Earth will not tolerate the strong preying upon the weak. And tell them that any civilization that commits genocide will have to answer to humanity." Thrix felt a chill run down his spine at the cold certainty in Morrison's voice. "Captain, the Ravager Collective has over 10,000 ships spread across 50 star systems. When they learn what happened here, they will come for Earth with everything they have." "Let them come," Morrison replied. "We'll be ready." The transmission ended, leaving Thrix staring at his communications console. The humans had just declared war on the most powerful military force in the galaxy, and they seemed completely confident in their ability to win. Aboard the Retribution, Morrison called his senior officers to the bridge for a final briefing before the journey home. Commander Hayes, Lieutenant Davis, Lieutenant Rodriguez, and the other department heads gathered around the main tactical display. "Ladies and gentlemen," Morrison began, "we have accomplished our primary mission. The Ravager siege of Kither Prime has been broken, and the enemy fleet has been completely destroyed. However, our actions today will have consequences that extend far beyond this system. He gestured to the star map showing the positions of known Ravager territories. By destroying this fleet, we have announced humanity's presence to the galaxy in the most dramatic way possible. Every species with long-range sensors will have detected this battle. It will know that someone has finally stood up to the Ravagers. Lieutenant Rodriguez raised her hand. Sir, won't this make us a target? If the Ravagers have 10,000? Ships like Coordinator Thrix said they could overwhelm Earth's defenses. Morrison smiled grimly. Lieutenant, the Ravagers have spent centuries terrorizing civilizations that had never fought a real war. They've grown soft and overconfident. They think superior numbers are all they need to win. He paused, looking around at his officers. They're about to learn that humans have been perfecting the art of warfare for thousands of years. We've fought each other in conflicts that would make the Ravagers look like amateurs. Commander Hayes nodded. Sir, what are our orders for the return journey? We proceed directly to Earth at maximum speed, Morrison replied. Fleet Command needs to be briefed on what we've learned about Ravager capabilities and tactics. We also need to begin preparing for their inevitable counterattack. As the human fleet formed up for the journey home, Morrison made one final transmission to Kither Prime. Coordinator Thrix, this is Captain Morrison. We are departing for Earth now. Remember what I told you about spreading word of this battle? Make sure every species in the galaxy knows that humanity will answer any call for help against oppressors and tyrants. Understood, Captain, Thrix replied. Your people will be remembered as heroes throughout Catherian history. May your journey home be safe. The human ships activated their hyperspace drives and disappeared in flashes of blue light, leaving behind a grateful world and the wreckage of an empire's arrogance. 3 weeks later, the first reports reached Ravager High Command on their capital world of Scarth. Grand Admiral Mordok, Supreme Commander of all Ravager forces, read the intelligence reports with growing disbelief. An entire fleet destroyed? He snarled at his intelligence officer. Over 300 ships wiped out by 48 unknown vessels. This is impossible. The reports have been confirmed by multiple sources. Grand Admiral, the intelligence officer replied nervously. Long-range sensors from 17 different systems detected the battle. The energy signatures match our missing fleet exactly. Mordok studied the tactical analysis of the human weapons. Magnetic acceleration technology that could punch through Ravager shields like they were made of paper. Coordination and tactics that spoke of a species raised on warfare. These humans, he said slowly. Where do they come from? System called Sol, Grand Admiral. 47 light-years from the Kither system. Intelligence suggests they have only recently achieved interstellar flight capability. A species that just learned to travel between stars managed to destroy our most experienced fleet? Mordok's voice was deadly quiet. Find out everything you can about these humans. Want to know how they fight, how they think, and how many ships they have? Yes, Grand Admiral. What are your orders regarding retaliation? Mordok looked out at the stars through the viewport of his command ship. For 3 centuries, the Ravager Collective had been the ultimate predators of the galaxy. No species had ever successfully resisted them. Now, these humans had not only resisted, but had completely destroyed one of their fleets. Assembled the 3rd, 7th, and 9th battle fleets, he ordered. 3,000 ships. We will crush this human homeworld so thoroughly that no other species will ever dare to oppose us again. But as the massive Ravager armada began to gather, monitoring stations throughout human space were already detecting their movements. Earth's defenses were being strengthened. New weapons were being built. And the planet that had just announced its presence to the galaxy was preparing for the war that would determine the future of galactic civilization, the age of human expansion. Among the stars had begun not with exploration or diplomacy, but with the complete annihilation of humanity's first alien enemies. The galaxy would never be the same.